Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the hidden psychology behind one of our absolute, most frustrating, self-sabotaging habits. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever stayed up way too late, doing, well, absolutely nothing of value, even though you are completely bone-tired? If you're nodding right now, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Okay, picture this scenario. It's 1:30 in the morning. You have to be up at 6. You are exhausted. Like seriously, bone-deep tired. Your eyes are literally burning, and your body is basically begging you to just go to sleep. And yet, here you are, staring at the ceiling, scrolling endlessly into the void. Maybe you're watching, I don't know, a 45-minute deep dive on how medieval cheese was made. You're just awake for absolutely no good reason. So, why are you awake?
And honestly, the absolute worst part, you know exactly what you're doing. It's incredibly frustrating, right? You know for a fact you're going to regret it tomorrow. You know that morning alarm is going to feel like a literal personal attack. But somehow, all of that logic changes absolutely nothing about your scrolling habit. You just keep going. So you might be wondering, what on earth is wrong with you? Well, here's the secret. Absolutely nothing.
What you are experiencing actually has a name. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. And let me just relieve you of some guilt right off the bat here. This is not insomnia. Look, people with insomnia desperately want to sleep, but they just can't. This is the exact opposite. This is choosing almost defiantly to stay awake. It's all about reclaiming your time.
So, where did we even get this wild term? Well, the base idea of bedtime procrastination was actually introduced back in 2014 by a Dutch researcher. But that intense revenge part, that got added in 2020 when the phrase went absolutely viral on Chinese social media. It was being used by millions of exhausted workers who were essentially stealing back their personal time at night. Fast forward to today, and it is a universally recognized concept by psychologists all across the globe. Now, psychologists actually define this specific behavior using 3 strict rules. Rule number 1, there is 0 external reason preventing your sleep. No crying baby, no loud neighbor, nothing like that. Rule number 2, staying up is a conscious choice. And rule number 3, which is the big one, you are fully aware it's a terrible idea. That third rule is absolutely key because it proves this is a psychology problem, not a sleep problem. You aren't oblivious, you're doing it on purpose.
So who exactly falls into this trap? Well, research shows it doesn't just happen equally to everyone. It actually heavily affects 3 specific groups of people. First up, we've got high-demand workers, people whose entire day completely belongs to their boss or their clients. Second, people pleasers and caregivers. You know, the folks who spend all their daylight hours endlessly accommodating everyone else's needs. And third, the ambitious but anxious achievers. For them, nighttime just turns into this unstructured anxiety session about what they should have done better. But notice the pattern here? For all 3 of these groups, their daytime self never fully belongs to them.
And that brings us to a crucial point, the deep contrast between your day and your night. Think about it. During the day, your time is completely controlled by others. You're spending all your mental energy, your self-regulatory resources, making decisions, acting professional, being incredibly patient. You literally use up all your willpower. So by the time night rolls around, it becomes your one and only source of autonomy. But here's the catch. When it comes time to make the simple choice to put the phone down and just go to sleep, your willpower tank is completely empty. You just can't do it.
Which brings us to the real aha moment of this whole explainer. At the very core of this late-night habit is something called psychological autonomy. And listen, this isn't some nice-to-have luxury. It is a fundamental human need. You need to feel like you are the author of your own life, right up there with the need for connection and security. So, when your psychological autonomy is restricted all day long, your brain doesn't just quietly accept it. No way. It defiantly fights back. It's kind of like a controlling parent who dictates exactly what a kid eats, what they wear, and what they do. What does the kid do in response? They find that one secret space the parent cannot control and they claim it, even if it totally gets them in trouble. Well, guess what? Your adult brain is doing the exact same thing with your schedule. Your job and your daily responsibilities are the controlling parent of your day, so your adult brain claims the night as its own secret rebellious space.
And we actually have concrete data backing up this whole autonomy-preserving idea. Let's look back at 2021. That was the year a major study in the journal Sleep Medicine proved that people who feel bored or trapped during the day use nighttime leisure specifically to preserve their identity. But honestly, here's the absolutely wildest part of that study. The late-night activities aren't even fun. Seriously, People report mindlessly scrolling or just falling down these weird random internet rabbit holes. You aren't staying up because that TV show is just so irresistible. You're staying up for the freedom.
But we kind of have to raise the stakes here for a second, because the physical cost of missing just 1 to 2 hours of sleep on a consistent basis is actually really severe. We're talking about a weakened immune system, higher risks of obesity and cardiovascular disease, not to mention spiked anxiety and depression. And most critically, cutting your sleep short actively blocks your brain's glymphatic system. In plain English, that's the system that literally flushes out toxic waste products from your brain while you sleep, and that includes proteins that are linked to Alzheimer's disease. So, sleep is not just optional maintenance, it is absolutely essential cleaning.
And because of that, this whole thing quickly builds into a totally vicious psychological trap. Think about how this flows. Step 1, your day feels out of control. Step 2, you stay up late to reclaim some of that control. Step 3, you wake up exhausted, less productive, and super reactive the next day. And then, step 4, because of that exhaustion, your day feels even more out of control. This vicious cycle proves that your late-night coping mechanism is actually making your underlying lack of autonomy significantly worse.
And beyond just the physical toll, there's a really heavy emotional cost to all this too. People who revenge procrastinate report feeling this strange, low-grade guilt that just shadows them into the next day. It's that nagging feeling of, I did it again. Why can't I just stop? And over time, that compounding guilt bleeds into your actual identity. It creates what psychologists call a helpless self-image. You literally start viewing yourself as someone who just lacks discipline. And then, unfortunately, that mindset bleeds into every other area of your life.
Okay, so this finally brings us to the solution, and I'm going to go ahead and confidently reject standard sleep hygiene advice right now. Look, just putting your phone in another room or forcing yourself to lay in bed at 10 p.m., that is not going to work. Why? Because willpower will not save you here. You simply cannot brute force your way out of this habit using the exact same resource, your willpower, that you've already completely drained during your demanding day.
Instead, you need to try these 4 psychology-backed strategies to actually feed your brain's starvation for freedom. First up, intentional me time. Try to build just 20 minutes of totally unstructured, nobody needs me time into your actual daylight hours. Second, transition rituals. You need to create a habit, like changing your clothes or putting on a specific playlist that clearly signals to your brain that work mode is over. Third, reframe bedtime. Remind yourself that sleep isn't the end of today's fun, it's actually the beginning of tomorrow's freedom. And fourth, the last hour. Designate guilt-free, completely chosen leisure time right before bed. Make it a planned, intentional choice, not a desperate rebellion.
And then, there's strategy 5. And this one is a lot harder. You need to ask yourself the honest question. Take a really hard look at your daytime boundaries. Do you feel genuinely heard, valued, and in control during your waking hours? Or are you just endlessly performing for other people? Because sometimes, you guys, your late nights aren't just a bad sleep habit. They are a glaring, blinking symptom of a life that needs some much larger adjustments, whether that's at work, at home, or in your relationships. I really want to leave you with this core message. When you actually get enough sleep, the tomorrow version of you has way more energy, way more patience, and crucially, way more capacity to say no to things you don't want to do. Sleep is not the enemy of your personal time. Sleep deprivation is. The real answer here is to build a daytime life where your brain simply doesn't feel the need to rebel at 1 a.m. Remember, rest isn't surrender.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, totally provocative question to chew on tonight. What is your daytime life like, really? Your late nights are sending you a message, and your job right now is to just listen to what they are trying to say. Thank you so much for joining me for this one, and I will see you in the next explainer. Now, seriously, go get some sleep.